I know this has been a goal for you for so long, and like I've been following your career for so long. I mean, my first job was, I've always been an eventer, and then my first job was with USEA. I remember my first time watching you ride at Rolex. Like I've followed your career for so long. I'm such a big fan of you. And I know this is a goal that you've been working towards for forever. In my opinion, I feel like it's high frickin' time. I'm so stoked to see you on the team. So we'll just talk a little bit about kind of like the inside scoop. Like I haven't actually seen like that much. I guess it's because of like all the COVID restrictions. I haven't seen that much press and like what are the horses doing? Like what, like all of that sort of thing. I've seen more.
Just starting to hit now. We've got it's Carly and what is her name that do all the PR for USCF. Anyway, they've got a whole crew here. So we're just starting to. I know they're just starting to push stuff out, and there's a huge. They were showing us. It's actually be really cool. Each of the teams. They've got sort of a page dedicated to each of the teams and all the athletes, and then horses' bios, people's bios. It's pretty cool, actually.
That's awesome.
And that should be in the next. I don't know when that goes live, but I would say very, very soon, though.
Great. That's awesome. And I know like Sally was telling me, she was texting me yesterday. She's like packing her bags to like come over for a vending nation and all that sort of thing. So I am very much staying home. I'm like, I can't.
I don't blame you. It's going to be, I mean, the COVID situation is sketch. So
that's tough. Yeah. And just, I mean, with like last summer, I was having the baby, and then this summer, like, the kids still aren't vaccinated. It's like a whole thing. But anyway, so, okay, let's get started. I'm just gonna kind of cue you up. I usually do like a little intro after the fact. So Doug Payne, welcome to the podcast from Aachen.
Thank you very much.
I am so excited to be doing this podcast with you. We're talking a little bit before we started recording, and I'm just so glad to see you on this team. And it kind of came about in like a little bit of a roundabout way. So I guess like, let's kind of just start there. So finding out that you were stepping onto the eventing team for the US, always so gutted for Liz Halliday Sharp and De Niro Z. They withdrew. And then what was that sort of like to sort of get that call and to be brought onto the team? And what was that moment like?
Yeah, it's just a huge, huge honor to have the opportunity to represent your country, and especially at an Olympic Games is even more special. We were already preparing, being that I was already the traveling reserve. So sort of the initial thought that you're going to go and all that was already there. We already had the plans in place. And I actually think in many ways that job is potentially even more challenging because you can get subbed in up to 2 hours prior to any phase, anytime.
That's intense.
I think it's really, really tough. And so, getting bumped up sort of one notch, you'd never want to have it happen that way. But at the same time, it's just a huge honor, and I'm really, really excited for Debbie and Kevin. Carly, Debbie bred Vandiver, so she's going to be able to come, and that's really cool for them because they've had him for quite a long time along with Jess and I.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit for people who might not be familiar with this horse. Tell us a little bit about Vandiver. You've had him for a few years. You guys call him Quinn, I think.
Quinn. Yeah, and we've had him for I would say sort of 6 or 7 years now. He initially, actually, Debbie had sent him to potentially be sold. And I said, you know what, there's something to this horse that is different. And Debbie was really cool, and she was just very down to earth. And she said, well, give it a shot. Let's give it a few months or whatever. And then from there, things got better and better. And we figured out a way to sort of enter into a partnership together, and on we went. So that was, it was quite a while ago, but we've been sort of around the world with him, and it's really exciting now. He's 17 this year and never been stronger, better, sounder. So knock on a lot of wood, things are continuing in the right direction.
Yeah. So we are talking on the phone. It's a Thursday right now, and you're in Aachen, Germany. Yep. So tell me a little bit, like, what's kind of the daily schedule for you guys right now?
right now, all the horses are at the pre-export quarantine, so we couldn't go direct from North America to Tokyo. So unfortunately, they're all going the wrong way around the world. So we like I think it's roughly 7 hours to get here by air, and then I think it's another 14 or 15-hour flight from here to Tokyo. But yeah, they're all in quarantine here. We're able to ride, so they're, generally speaking, you try to keep it as normal as possible, but breakfast in the morning, and about 7:30 we trot all the horses up for the team, and then this morning, for instance, I think it was 10:30, 11, we were able to jump in the stadium here at Aachen. And each day is a bit different as far as what exactly you're doing with them, but you try to keep it as normal a schedule as possible.
Are you sort of like in charge of sort of what those daily rides look like for you, or is that something you're coordinating with coach and team and everything like that?
In rough way, they've got it structured as we're gonna flat here, jump here,
okay,
canter, condition, whatever it might be, and everybody's more or less on the same page. So if you had a big objection to something and you wanted to do something different, I'm sure that would be possible, but it's a very reasonable, normal sort of feel. And what we do during that session is everything's open to talk about, right? So if there's some particular thing that you would want to do with your particular horse that's going to improve their performance, of course, they're not going to stop you from doing that.
Yeah. I mean, this is a group of riders that so well. Like, I think that that's such an interesting thing about like putting teams together when riding is normally an individual sport. Like it's an individual sport, but everybody knows each other. So I feel like these teams probably like come together pretty easily. What does that feel like in terms of like, is there any sort of, I don't know, like kind of coaching going on between you riders, or like encouragement? Like what is sort of the communication going on between teammates at this point?
At this point, so we've got our main team here. So it's Philip Dutton, Boyd Martin, myself. Tammy Smith is our traveling reserve now. And then both Will Faudry and Will Coleman are both here as the alternates. And I think their job is really challenging because they're here in Germany up until the point that the horses would leave. So if something were to happen, God forbid, to any of the horses, they would step in. And otherwise, they'll all then fly back to the States. So I've got to give them a whole lot of credit because I think that's a super difficult,
it's really tough
job to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, just on your riding, most people, everybody's more or less trying to watch and get a feel for the horses. You often are competing and you don't have a ton of time to watch. I mean, you obviously generally know what they all go like and that sort of thing, but knowing little ins and outs that potentially could help, we're all paying attention to it. So we'll be together another, I think the dressage doesn't start for another almost 2.5 weeks from here. And so I would expect we'd all have a pretty good feel for all the horses by that point.
Yeah. So tell me what the next like several days look like. When do horses start traveling again? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, so we're here. Today's Thursday, so we jumped today with Peter Wild, who's been our jump coach, and did more coursework today. Dressage tomorrow, and then we're back doing sort of little footwork stuff on Saturday, and then flat Sunday. And I think the horses end up leaving. I'd have to look exactly, but I think it's sort of Tuesday more or less that they're going to look. So yeah, like I said, it's a pretty laid back, clearly confident group of people. So it makes it really easy, actually. We're just hanging out, riding horses, and everybody's looking for a little extra thing to do. Today we went shopping, and Will Faudry was after some lederhosen. So he went to the lederhosen shop and got completely decked out.
That sounds very on brand.
Oh, for sure. So there's a very good chance that he's going to be full lederhosen for Fair Hills.
Oh, please.
So we will see.
The people need this.
Oh yeah, check all the social following, feeds, because there'll be pictures popping out here pretty soon.
I love it so much. I'm curious, like, does at this point in time, because like, again, like you said, the dressage doesn't start for like 2.5 weeks. Does it feel different to you? Or like, does it kind of feel like, oh, like you've traveled abroad for horse shows, like, plenty of times. So does it feel kind of like a normal horse show to you at this point, or like, where's kind of your mental
So
state?
far, yeah, so far, and I would say so far it feels pretty normal. And I know for me personally, um, to be most successful, I like to try to not make a big deal of any of it, and
Yeah.
so to try to keep it as normal as possible. And
You're like, I'd really rather not be doing a podcast
yeah,
about how much
no,
pressure it feels like.
yeah, I mean, basically just trying to, in many ways, I've always found most helpful is to, in some ways, remove the significance of the competition. Not to say you're going to undervalue it or whatever, but the fact that we're able to get here, in my mind, I just like to think that, okay, well, hopefully there'll be a bunch more opportunities like this.
Yeah.
And so in that way, it's not like do or die. This is the biggest thing you've ever seen in your life. And yeah, that wouldn't be productive for me, for sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. Like just in being able to like interview riders at like, big championships and stuff like that over the years, it's, a few people have said to me over time that they try to think about like the qualification for that event as like the big achievement. So like the big achievement is already kind of like done for them in a way. And like from then on out, it's just like, they just act like it's a regular horse show, right, because they know that they can perform within like the pressure bounds of kind of a regular horse show. So I think it's probably actually a little bit challenging for you because you are all of a sudden, you only have one horse that you're like, you probably have more time than you normally would at home where you're like
without a doubt,
schooling a bunch of horses.
And most times at home, you're kind of on off, and end up, you have to be a little bit careful actually not to overdo it with them because the temptations, you've got nothing else happening, so you almost want to hop on and do a bit more, but it's better for the horses probably to a little bit lay low at this point.
Yeah. Any sort of like acclimation concerns in terms of the horses, or just speaking to Quinn specifically, in terms of getting to Tokyo and sort of being in that environment?
Luckily for him, he's traveled a lot. And what we have learned over the past however many years with him shipping is the more kind of low key and easygoing, the better, because he would be one that would be more of a nervous kind of internalizer type. And the times that we've gone and probably put more pressure on him, he's sort of wants to almost stop eating and he gets nervous about stuff. So the less or sort of more just chill we can be about it, the better and better he is. And Courtney Carson, who's along with us, she runs everything for us, but she does, she's a great job. But she and Quinn are like their little like spirit animals or whatever. So the nice thing is that he's able to travel and she knows him better than anybody in that way. And I think that consistency is huge because regardless where he is,
he's got his person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Any sort of with COVID still being a concern and all these travel restrictions in place, has anything changed with the horses travel that wouldn't normally be there?
Horses travel is roughly the same. For us, it's going to end up being daily COVID testing.
Daily COVID test.
Once we're there.
That's fun for you.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like the empty bubble, pretty much. We've got to get tested when we arrived here. Full mask on here, the whole deal, that kind of deal. We are all, I think actually everyone with us in our entire camp is vaccinated, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Once we have, I think 2 tests, one inside of 96 and one inside of 72 hours before going to Japan. And then there's just a laundry list of health regulations that we're going to have to adhere to while being there. And I think it's, from the sounds of it, it'll be pretty well locked down, more or less hotel to venue to hotel. Yeah.
And what about, I think you mentioned that, that Quinn's owner is going to be able to come, but like, what about so Doug's wife, Jess, who's also a rider, and they have 2 precious babies. What about Jess and the kids? Are they going to be able to come, or is it?
No. So it was totally locked down where they were only going to have passes for myself, Courtney, and one other, and now they've bumped it to 2, which is great. So Debbie and Kevin are going to come, but unfortunately Jess and the kids will not be able to. It wouldn't, in the end it would be pretty difficult to get there, but even if she got here, there's not a whole lot do. And yeah, it's unfortunately this time around, she's going to end up, I think she's going to end up going to, her family's based out of Nashville. So I think she's going to end up going to their place. And one of her sister's birthdays is the same time. So they're going to end up doing birthday and then watch the Olympics from Nashville.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, traveling to Tokyo with two littles would be challenging without COVID.
Yeah, no kidding. So yeah, Hudson and Abby are 1 and 3, so they're totally wild at this point. It'd be tough, but we've got a very good chance with a younger horse, a 7-year-old, this fall to go to France for the 7-year-old World Championship. So everyone's planning to come on that trip.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Fingers crossed for that.
And talk to me about what does veterinary care look like for the horses at this point? You mentioned that the horses were jogging in the morning. Who's the team vet? What does that look like?
Yeah, we've got a whole team of people with us, that both farriers, vets, physio, the whole thing. I mean, it's a massive group. Susan Johns is our traveling vet with us.
She's awesome.
She's absolutely awesome. So daily trot ups, and then really any sort of preventative or therapeutic treatment that you can imagine is available. So if there's anything that they need or potentially could benefit from, the horses will all get it, which is excellent.
Yeah. What about for the often neglected riders? What about physios for you guys?
We've Andy, totally blanking on his last name. That's so bad. I'm horrible with names. But yes, human physio also. He's based out of the UK, but has helped our team for quite a few years. And so that too is up and available to us.
Awesome. Any sort of, we talked like a little bit about like your mental strategy is kind of similar actually to Quinn's, in that you guys just have to act like it's like no big deal. Like there's nothing big about this. But is there any sort of like, I don't know, like sports psychology support for the team, or like any sort of like mental strategies that the team is sort of deploying?
If you wanted to utilize it, the USOC does have a whole team again available to you. We did have a sort of a team call that both a sports psychologist and a recovery and sleep expert, and we've had a number of people come on to speak to us. And if you wanted further help, they would be available to you.
Yeah, that's cool. From your you bring a really interesting perspective to the sport. And I've always appreciated a lot how much you can talk about safety in the sport and how we can sort of engineer that, because you have a background as an engineer. When you're sort of looking at the cross country course, specifically when you get to Tokyo, do you feel like you're expecting that that's going to be like engineered to be a very safe course, or like do you have any sort of thoughts on like what you would like to see on that course?
No, I mean, I think everyone in the sport is working to make things better and safer for horse and rider. Derek DeGrazio is a course designer there, and I think like at any championship of any type, you're not really going to have any corners cut or I wouldn't expect any sort of shortcomings. If there's something available to them to use that can make the sport safer, they're going to take that chance. And the officials are quite good also in that if we walk the course and there's, I don't know, some particular thing that maybe could be a little bit more clearly defined for the horses or tweaked, generally speaking, they're going to be open to changing.
For Quinn, what do you feel like he like is there one, I guess, phase or like thing that you feel most confident in his ability to deliver on? Like is he like particularly excellent at one phase, or like what's kind of like your strategy going in?
I guess you'd have to, if you're gonna go across the 3, he's probably strongest in the cross country, but he's quite a good show jumper and it's come a very long way and it's continuing to improve. So I think he's particularly well suited for this. He's quite efficient and quick on cross country, and I think with this being a shortened course, it's going to be, the time's going to be really challenging to get. So he would have, I would expect, a pretty good shot to get it or get very close to it.
Yeah. And what do you think about in terms of like competition, or maybe you just try not to even think about this as well, but in terms of like thinking about the other teams that will be there, the other riders that will be there, who do you think is looking like they're going to be stiff competition?
I think you've got a laundry list of countries that could put up a very good fight. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens this year. A new format with the 3 riders and no drop score, and so even the very strongest could have just a little hiccup and the whole thing falls apart. So it's going to be exciting to watch for sure.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited to like sit back. I hope that everybody like makes the time to watch this. I mean, the fact that like this game's got pushed back and like you guys are still going despite COVID and just like the crazy year that it's been. I am so excited for this team. Doug, I'm so excited for you. Like, it's just so awesome to see you doing this.
It's a surreal experience, really, but we're gonna make the most of it.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're off to buy some lederhosen. So
keep buying the social streams. You'll see.
Oh, I will. Best of luck. Maybe we can catch up after the games and talk about how everything went. But otherwise, I'm wishing you calm vibes. It's just another regular horse show, and lots of sound, knock on wood, lots of sound, healthy, happy riders and horses.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug.